Hello everybody, welcome to another video. My name is Infiniti, and if you don't know, I'm the face, the voice, and the hands behind all the content here under Infiniti Crafting Co. and behind the website InfinityCraftingCompany.com. Today is day 22 of Vlogust, aka Channel Chat 137. Thanks for joining me today. I can already tell by the way I worded that title that people kind of clicked this very fast, so I'm not going to be shocked later on when I finish doing my schoolwork at the view count on this. So, it wasn't clickbait, first and foremost, but also don't panic because it's not immediate. Today I wanted to talk about all the reasons why I might end up quitting. Quitting Infiniti Crafting Co. And I don't want to be alarmist or anything. Alright, this is for my too long do not read crowd. If you don't have time to sit back and watch the full length of the video, I just want to give some clarification to the rest of this video. As I stated just now, I don't want to be alarmist, and I don't want to rub people the wrong way with this, though I know inevitably somebody's going to take offense to this or call me a brat or entitled or something. But this is clearly not for that segment, so here we go. Basically, the gist of this video is that, over the last 5 years of my young life, I have been dedicated to bringing you guys all kinds of cool craft knowledge and just showing you guys what I know as it regards to crochet and knit and eventually the Centro knitting machine. And it was never my prerogative here on YouTube directly to push, hey, you gotta donate or do XYZ in order to gain access to things, because I always thought that crafting should be something that's kind of open and free. And it was always my hope that, as I continue to branch out and grow my brand and my community, therefore, that people would just naturally fall in and start supporting the content in a way that would make things sustainable. Over the years, I've always sought, I don't know if that sounded right, I've always sought to involve my community in things regarding Infiniti Crafting Co. So that's why I put out all of the community memos and polls and things like that to try to gauge you guys' reactions to things and try to get some real input from the people that I believe are not only my community, but my target audience and the people that would cause my business to actually grow. And as I will state later in the video, if I have no community, I have no business. And so, I appreciate all the people. First of all, I appreciate all the people that have supported my content over the years and have bought patterns and things like that. Y'all have been really solid. And once I got monetized on YouTube and things like that, that actually helped me to buy textbooks and things where I just didn't have any help with that otherwise. So I appreciate that, but I think that it's an unfair and unrealistic expectation to, expect 3 or 4 people to just be the backbone pillar of my business. It's not sustainable, and that's always been my goal, to make things sustainable. So again, outside of my YouTube stuff, I had always hoped that people would either support my merch or purchase patterns, or once I got my website up, I guess, almost 3 years ago now, I was hoping that people would buy my handmade items and my patterns directly from there to support the content and help me to be able to take the time out to improve my skills, as I've continued to do over the last 5 years of my life. And so, I'm not trying to come at this from an entitlement thing, because I strictly believe that a business should flourish basically by its merits. And so, essentially, if I'm not bringing value to my community, or I'm not bringing, that's basically it. If I'm not bringing value to my community, then I don't have any merit. And it's a tough decision to make. And it's not one that I am considering making at this very direct moment, so don't freak out. But I do want swaths of my audience to start considering whether or not I have brought value to their lives through the crafts or not because you know, I appreciate all the kind words and stuff, but at the same time, as I again phase out of college and things like that, the kind comments don't pay my bills and cause me to be able to be very creative at all. And sure, some people in the past have kind of whined about it and be like, oh, well, you should just get a job. But to be honest, at that juncture, I don't know that I would want to continue uploading once I moved into an act like a full 9 to 5 type deal. And that was kind of the point of me starting Infiniti Crafting Co. when I was 20, because by the time I graduated from college, I wanted to be able to be self-sustaining and independent and things like that. And then that ambition probably quadrupled after COVID hit, and I got let go from what I considered my main job. And so I saw the importance more so then than I did at the very beginning of me really having my own thing and being able to thrive doing my own thing regardless to what any other place does. So these are just some of my personal thoughts, and this is basically a synopsis. As the internet memes would say, you know, be kind of working at stuff for a while, you should, and you're not really successful at it, you should probably just walk off into the sun. Of course, I mean that in all joking ways, but at the end of the day, eventually, you know, I'll have to sit back and think about this. I did mention back in July that if I could get 1% of my cumulative audience to support my subscription program, that would keep me going, because that's something that isn't just one time, it is something that would be monthly, and something where I feel like I can bring value to you guys through my designs and instruction, in a more private way and a more hands-on way, things like that. So I would ask that you just heavily consider sending your girl $6 a month. This feels very difficult for me. I was not raised to ask for things directly like this, and like I said, I just kind of had this assumption that people would just fall into it because you know, they enjoyed the way I teach on YouTube and they like my designs, which is the general commentary that I get on my posts and things like that, but the actions don't reflect the words. And when it comes to business, I have to wonder, like, do I suck? And so I was half serious when I posted that short on Instagram a few weeks ago about that, because yeah, you know, I can't really get by on, what am I trying to say? I can't really get by on just, you know, good-spirited comments, though they are thoroughly appreciated. They do give me a little feel boost when I'm down in the dumps. But I can't tell y'all how many times over the last 2 years that I've thought about just quitting this channel and everything else and just not doing it anymore. And that might sound like a temper tantrum, but in this moment, all I can do is be real and I can be earnest. I'm not a very dramatic person, so I can't do all the theatrics and be a certain way to garner the attention. As I've mentioned before, I don't have brands behind me, and I'm not really willing to compromise how I want to run my business or the things I want to promote, or, you know, promoting businesses that don't necessarily reflect how I feel. Now, sometimes, like, I understand that you have to get along, but by and large, there are just so many bigger businesses now that just don't reflect who I am as a maker. And so, again, if I don't have the support of my community, I don't have anything. And beyond that, I think that's it. This is Future Infinity, by the way, because I was a little ill when I recorded this one, so I don't think all of my thoughts were cohesive. And again, I just didn't want people to think that I was being bratty or entitled, because I realized that I am very blessed by the sheer fact alone that my YouTube channel got over 10,000 subscribers is wild, because there's like less than 10% of channels in the US that make it that far even. And to be able to share my ideas and designs with that swath of people has been very endearing over the years, and I would hope that I will be able to continue to do so in an elevated manner going forward. But anyway, that's it for this segment. So if you're too busy, you can go about your day. But if not, I'm gonna dive back into this channel chat. Thanks for listening and happy making. I hope that this video doesn't rub people the wrong way. I really don't like making these types of videos just because of the way I was raised. I just feel like, a lot of times that problems can be kept to oneself and, you should suffer in silence, that kind of thing. Very modest upbringing, that kind of thing. So anyway, it is with much struggle that I make today's video. So the topic being the reasons why I would quit Infiniti Crafting Co. So it's no secret that Infiniti Crafting Co., this channel was always meant to be a support for my small business. And I don't want to diminish that over the years I've had so many wonderful people to subscribe, be a part of my community. I've had a lot of people to follow my socials eventually, especially within the last couple of years. It's really grown a lot, and I've been able to help a lot of people with their crafty problems, or their crafty problems, because whether they know how to crochet and just can't get a stitch, or they know how to knit and just can't get a stitch, that I've also been able to teach people who want to knit or crochet how to do so and kind of do it without getting a headache. So I have enjoyed that part of this for the last 5 years, and I think that the support of it has been amazing. I probably during that first or second week of August, I did mention that an inheritance gained too soon is not blessed, right? And I've always believed that, and that's kind of one of the things that have kept me going, so to speak. I don't want to say delete myself, but one of the reasons that I've kept pushing and kept going, because I believe that at some point Infiniti Crafting Co. would kick off and I'd be able to support myself with my business and the work of my hands over especially the last 3 years, where I really started truly putting my designs out there and putting my products out there and whatnot. It's been fun, but it's also been kind of rough. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit, right? Because it's not all been sunshine and rainbows. And I want to explain this hopefully in a way that you guys get it and it doesn't come off as entitled or bratty. I don't think it does, but there's always that one person out there. So here we go. So I'm a small business. I'm a crafter. I'm a maker. I come on 2 to 3 times a week on this channel. In the beginning, I was definitely coming on at least 3 times a week and really grinding and hustling. And then during 2020, when everything was closed down, I really had extra time, and that's where my channels started taking off. I didn't really start my Rumble channel until October, November of 2020, and basically when I started putting my content over there, I was one of the first craft people over there, so things just kind of exploded in a short period of time, and I wrote about it way back when. But anyway, I digress. But in that time, it's been no secret that this is one of the legs that supports my small business. And so again, that's why I try to include y'all in community polls and under the community tabs and ask y'all questions in the channel chats, and even sometimes at the end of the tutorials. I've tried over the years to optimize those so you guys don't feel like I'm blabbing you to death, but also I try to leave my things towards the end, so after you've decided whether you're happy or not with the content you've consumed, then you can decide whether or not you wish to subscribe, follow, support the content, send me a coffee, that kind of thing. And so within the last 2 years, it's really been sort of getting to me, because either I ask people if they want me to run a sale, and I think the last time it really kind of hurt me was back in 21. And so from that point, I was like, I'm not running any sales until it's November. But nonetheless, so that's why the birthday sale happened last year and no other sale last year happened. But this year I put out community polls and stuff and asked for your input, and by and large y'all said yeah. and even on Instagram. So it's kind of this weird disconnect for me, right? Because I'm running this as my business, and I'm trying to get my design work out there and whatnot, and it's not working. And sometimes I want to cry about it, so my grandma gets an earful of that. But it's like, I'll ask for input and kind of guide how I do product releases and how I'll run sales or things like that. But like, even though I'll get a very overwhelming majority of people like, oh yeah, you should do the thing, or oh yeah, incorporate this, I would love to see this. Like, if I get a bunch of people liking it or commenting and DMing me and stuff, then I'm more apt to do it. And so that's been my MO for the last couple of years. However, there is a huge disconnect between that and what actually happens. So I know, and this is no way like a means to entice people. I don't want to make people feel guilty, but I'm just saying what's happening. So whenever I do a product release or a pattern release, in my mind, and knowing statistics, I know that it is very difficult to get large quantities of people to agree on one certain thing. And so, I take that into account when I price things and when I do these releases and whatnots. However, when I do put out sales, or when I do things based off of community input, and I do these releases, I get 0 sales. And y'all might be like, oh, wah, but to me it hurts because I try. I try so hard, and then I continue to put myself out there and do all this work and try to help people and stuff, but it's kind of difficult. It's kind of difficult, more so than I believed it would be. And that's not to say that like difficult work isn't worthy, or it's not for me. I've always known that building your own business would be difficult, but I find it very difficult when I'm using difficult a lot, but I find it very hard to swallow when I put out content that is specifically asked for and then I get crickets. So it's not even the pottery thing. Put the pottery stuff out, of course, but I think I've sold 2 pieces off of that. And I do understand that some people's budgets are tight. I do understand. But I try to cater to a number of people in my audience, not everybody. And so, if you cater to everybody, you're going to cater to nobody, because it's going to be confusing and whatnot. So I feel like over the years I've really niched down into the things that, my audience seems to want to support, more or less. But it's like, I'll hear one thing or get DM'd one thing, and then the results are very different. Now, like, on one hand, I don't expect people to just go blow a bunch of money on my content or on my products every single month, but I'm gonna be very blunt and honest with you. I might make $4 off of pattern sales every other month. And with the YouTube thing, I might make $100 a month with that. And some of y'all are like, oh, that's passive income. And, to some extent, over the years, I have mentioned, hey, I could really use your support or whatever. And, the last thing that anybody who works with their hands really wants to hear is, hey, go get a job. For a while there, I was working 2 jobs, and then, now I obviously have this one job because it fits with my school schedule. But in the same token, it's like, I am putting out all of this stuff for people to enjoy, but nobody's supporting it. And so somewhere in the back of my mind, I have to wonder, like, is my pattern designing just that bad? Is my pottery just that bad? Like, but nobody's telling me that. So it makes me wonder and contemplate from time to time. And, it's taken a lot of prayer and, pulling up my own britches in a sort of sense, over the last few years to get things together. And then in my latest attempt to get my business to support itself, I relaunched Hey Craftapreneur, which is my pattern and design memberships club. So there are some designs that I put out, and they are particularly popular, and I was like, well, maybe they're good enough to be supported. So I put it out there, and I did that back in July. And at the time, I did mention when I started those memberships that in order for me to find it feasible to continue on beyond next summer, I would need about 1% of my audience. So that again goes back to statistics. It's very hard to get 100 people to like agree to things, let alone if you're overstepping your expectations. Though I wouldn't be mad if more than 1% of my audience decided I was worthy enough to continue. However, that is my minimum. And it's interesting trying to get that word out there. You know, I do have some people, and I appreciate y'all so much, but like I have some people that will share my content and things like that with other people, and that makes my day also. And that just, you know, again, it makes my day. What was I thinking? Like I said, I get all jumbled up, and then when it comes to writing down notes for these things, I am no good. I'm very much an off the cuff kind of person. But anyway, things really started to frustrate for me last year after I broke my tooth out of my mouth pretty much. And you know, I don't feel like people owe me anything, and again, that goes back to how I was raised. You know, it's kind of like keep it to yourself, suck it up kind of thing. But at the time, and even now, I feel like I'm drowning in it. It's like it's been almost a year, and I might have 9% of my goals that I set back in September, and I don't know. And I guess it gets extra hard when you see other people literally grifting or like doing fundraising for stuff that's probably not, like for like vacations and stuff like that. And I'm literally just out here trying to teach my craft and you know, get my face fixed, and I can't get it. Like, I don't know. And it's like between putting my own money into it and like the donations or whatever, I just don't have it. And that's probably one of the more frustrating things on top of that. But anyway, aside from that, I'm looking at post-graduation. When I do graduate, for one, my editing software is going to jump from $30 to like $53 a month, and I barely justify the $30 at the moment. And it's like, if I can't at least justify my internet bill and my editing software, then what is the point? Because my internet bill almost takes up all of the ad money that I get from the ads on YouTube. I don't get paid very much. And so it's like literally working for peanuts. Now, is the money everything? No. And I've never made it at the forefront of things in my content. I've never once said, oh, you gotta donate and stuff. gotta pay for this. Like, never. Because I felt like people should be able to enjoy crafts and such for leisure and for free for a while. And then, like, if they like the way that I teach, then my patterns were out there, my projects were out there. But again, it comes back to that point of when I release it, are they just that bad? Like, literally tell me if they're that bad. I don't mind a few mean comments. Because if I need to stop putting out patterns and designs and projects, I will. I listen. So, you know, and like I said, this is a very difficult thing for me to do because I never wanted to quit my channel. But apart from the operation fees that I have for actually making the videos and taking all the time out, camera batteries. But anyway, it takes me tens of hours to like edit things, to find resources to talk about, and actually sit out and do these swatch tutorials. It takes a lot of time, effort, energy, and resources to design the patterns I do, even if I don't know what y'all think, because y'all don't talk to me, but it's fine. So, you know, I just, it takes a lot. And so, looking at things beyond graduation, which is kind of perfectly timed, because I usually go on break in June every year, so I would say, like, past next May, if things aren't going to work out for me in that sense, then I'll just stop. And I don't know if I'll make an exit video on that. I feel like it's kind of like, this is an airport, and then, you know, you don't have to necessarily announce your departure, so I would just go off in silence and people wouldn't hear from me again, which probably sounds kind of petty, but I don't know if I'd be able to make that video without crying my eyes out, because I look at it like, you know, I started this when I was 20, and I've been doing this job essentially for 5 years, and to some people it might not be a lot, but that's why I always push the value thing. Like, if you find value in my work, then please consider doing XYZ. Please consider subscribing. Like, I ask, but I don't know if it's just falling on deaf ears, or if people forget, or if I really do just suck. So I was partly serious when I put that short out, but nonetheless, I digress. So yeah, the main thing that would keep me from uploading is just the money thing. And I don't think my programs are that expensive. Some people charge like $15 a month for stuff, and I'm only charging basically $6. If you're subscribed monthly on Coffee, then that's just $5 if you don't like my patterns. But like, you know, one way or another, this is either gonna have to work out so I can afford to live while I do this stuff, or, you know, I will do just as the interesting comments have said and just go get a job and stop uploading. So yeah, I don't, again, it feels like an ultimatum, and I guess down to its nitty gritty, it almost is, but I don't want people to feel guilted into buying things, because I know sometimes I'll have these little moments where I'm like, you know, guess it just sucks to suck, and then I'll get a sale or something like that. But I don't want people to feel like that. I want people to support me genuinely because they believe in my work and that they found some sort of actual value out of what I do. So that's all I ever ask, basically, when it comes down to it. Now, some people might not watch my videos all the way to the end. That could be a big part of it, but you know, there's some part of me that's just like, you know, at this point, after you've like grown a community the size that I have. Now, somewhere back in my mind, my main reason for growing a big community was to get that play button because I found it intriguing and shiny. But I don't think that I ever thought that I would exceed 10K, because literally less than 10% of channels really hit that benchmark, and I'm, again, very grateful for the progress that I have made and like the few sales that I am able to make and things like that. But I do wish for my business to be at least sustainable, you know? So anyway, my goal by next May is to have 1%, it's about 500 people, between either my Coffee page or my subscriber program where you actually get access to my pattern library, like all of them. And it's actually kind of a discount because whereas most of my patterns are priced at like $5.99, $6.99 a piece, and especially as I've upgraded them to have videos included in them, you're actually getting a discount because for like $5.99 a month, you get access to all the patterns instead of just one. So there's an incentive for that. But anyway, with that being said, I am going to log off right now, go work on my macroeconomics stuff, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. And until then, happy making. There's no pot for the day. I thought it would be a very awkward video to put a pot of the day on, so I didn't do it. So there's that. Again, see you tomorrow. Till next time, happy making.